When we talk about pivots, we often think of chasing new skills like learning code, mastering AI, picking up something technical. But what if the most important skill of all is still human? My name is Nancie Saw, and I'm joined with my co-host Jonathan Chu, and together we speak with our guest today, Kellyn On. She has lived through many chapters, from managing events in 5-star hotels to overseeing jewelry stores worth millions, to now exploring AI and technology. Each pivot taught her something new, not just about work, but about people, how they behave, what motivates them, and why integrity and emotional agility are skills no machine can replace. This is a story about learning to read human nature, leading with empathy, and staying curious, even when life asks you to start over. Let's get into it. So, hi Kellyn, how are you today?
Hello. Hi Nancy. Hi Jonathan. Hi everyone. I'm good. I feel like your introduction has given everything away already, so I don't have to talk.
Oh, we still have stuff to dig. Okay, maybe we will start by asking, what are you doing now?
I am currently on a break. I just resigned a couple of months ago. So yeah, tengah goyang kaki at the moment, but also trying to learn up new skills.
Do you want to just tell us briefly what are the skills that you're learning currently while taking a break?
Yeah, so I am doing some AI courses by Google and also by IBM. I've currently completed the one by Google, and it's a 5-module thing. Yeah, so the next one would be, IBM, another few more modules till I complete my AI course.
Is it interesting?
Yeah, it is. It is very interesting. It's totally new to me. Well, to be fair, AI has been around for a while. It's just that, I've never had the chance to go and dig in and understand more. And now that I have time, I really get to sit in through the classes, and they do a very good job explaining about AI and the in-depth of it and how to use it. And so I think I find it very useful, and I learn a lot.
Nice. If I may ask, what is one thing that stood out to you from the course?
I think the one thing that really stood out is how you can use it to enhance your skills, your daily tasks. So it really is good. After learning how to explore with AI, I started doing certain app, and I started going through how do I decorate my home, take a photo, and then I built an app for recipe books. How you
Nice.
can just how you can get different recipes from all the different websites and then put them together. Yeah, so I've done a few things just to play around with it and see how it will help. So it's exciting.
Okay, just what you were telling us about you've tried playing with different apps, and you actually created apps to gather the recipe. What are some of the apps that you've tried, and which one you prefer? Or is there any particular reason you like certain apps?
Well, I can't remember all the apps, so I've been trying a lot, because one of the things that we have to do is we're given assignments, and so in the assignments they give you a few apps to try out, and then they give you a whole list. Yeah, so then from there you pick and choose what you want to do, whether it's building a app, or whether if it's video whatsoever. Yeah, so then then from there, yeah.
So what did you use to build the recipe, to gather the recipe one? Or you already don't remember?
Don't remember.
Never mind.
Too many.
Right. So how did you actually arrive to the decision whereby you decided that, I think now I would like to learn AI. Why not other skills? Why AI in particular?
I suppose because the market is always changing. The world is always changing. Say, for example, last time I was in the hotel industry, right? And then came COVID, and then things change. And so I realized I can't keep staying there. That's where I went into the jewelry industry. And then now that I'm out of the jewelry industry, I also see things like I cannot be forever in the jewelry industry. course, there's only so much you can learn and so much you can do in the jewelry industry. And it's always evolving. And so for me, there was an opportunity also. I was reading an article, and the article was talking about AI businesses in Malaysia. And it was talking about how the businesses in Malaysia, they're still not ready to adapt. They're still not ready to use AI. And I thought, actually it's a good opportunity. Why not go and find out more about this? And by then when they are ready to adapt the thing, I should be ready also. So it's learning new skills, it's trying to advance, it's trying to pick up new things, so then you will never be obsolete in a sense.
In other words, you're getting yourself equipped and ready for the market before the market actually, launches out.
Yeah.
So everyone's just trying now, right?
That's
in the
right.
trying phase. So just now you were talking about your previous job in hotel and also jewelry. We go back to your first job, which is the hotel industry. Do you want to walk us through how you ended up in the hotel industry?
Okay, that's an interesting one. When I came back from Australia, I was very reluctant to work. So I got my cousin took hold of my resume, and then he's like, "Oh, I have to start submitting some resumes for you and see whether you get a job." And so I got a job with an international hotel, and I started as a sales coordinator. Yeah, and sales is not my kind of thing. I don't like to sell things to people. So it was very hard for me. It was it's either you buy, you like it, you take it. You don't like it, you don't like the space, then then bye-bye. Go somewhere else. So that's me. So when one of the public relations manager left, my boss actually reviewed my resume again, and then she noticed that that's what I studied. I did marketing communications, and so she offered me. And so she asked, would you like to, take on this position? And that's how I started. Yeah. So I started doing Marcom. I don't know, this is how many years ago? And then after that, yeah, I know, right? Old. So I did marketing communications. We did launches for new hotels, and then that's where I kind of grew. And with international hotels, it's very good because there are many opportunities. So we did pre-openings for new hotels and all that. Then eventually I came back to Malacca, and I handled a smaller place, but this smaller hotel is mainly more on operations. So the day-to-day operations and whatnot. And how I landed in Habib was because of COVID, like I mentioned earlier.
I'm still interested in your hotel industry. When you're working there, how long were you there for in the hotel industry?
Let me think. Maybe about 8 years.
8 years, right? That's pretty long time, right? So were there any stories or interesting lessons to learn from the hotel industries that you were at?
Yes, plenty. I think I can probably write a book.
Okay.
Well, one of them was when I started when I was very new. I was still the sales coordinator then. Maybe that was one of the reason why I didn't like sales, because of all the pressure. So what happened was, one of the the tasks of a sales coordinator is to book event spaces for. So if the guests come in and say that I want to get married, in October, and then I booked the space for, the couple. And then I did a blunder. So what happened was, I didn't book, and then I double book it. So meaning to say, another guest had the same wedding date on the same particular day. And this was weeks before. And the guest just went, woohoo! She was furious. And then I had a really good boss, I have to say. My boss actually
wait.
covered for me.
How did you realize that you double booked, and what was going through your mind when you realized that you actually double booked someone's wedding? It's not even like a company meeting. This is like wedding.
Yeah, I know, right? And the thing is that we only had one hall. Can you imagine? One hall that could fit that many people. So unless you have a big hotel, you have many halls, it's a different story, because they had so many people, only one hall could fit them. So the thing is that before they actually come for their actual wedding, you have follow-ups and whatnot, right? Obviously, I didn't follow up with this guest because I didn't even know that I double booked. And they were the ones who called and wanted to follow up. And I was like, since when is there another wedding on this day? And then I realized, oh dear Lord. Yeah. One thing I can really say, one thing I've learned from this is to be a really good boss when you're there. My boss was very gracious. She basically covered me, and then she like told the GM that there was a technical glitch. No, and she's new, she doesn't know how to use the system. And she went on, and then GM, of course, she was angry because we had to pay like about 5,000 or something. And so thank goodness they never deduct from my pay. So basically the one thing that I really learned from this incident is I told myself that if I one day be a boss, I'm going to be like this lady boss, because she was kind. She extended grace, and she believed in second chances. So eventually, I worked with her when she left the hotel and she went to the airport, which eventually I followed suit. Yeah. So when she left for the airport to work in the airport,
You
she
also went to
offered
the
me a job
airport,
there. Yeah. So I followed her. There you go. Lesson learned.
It wasn't from hotel to jewelry.
It-
So it was hotel to airport to jewelry.
No, wait. Airport is also Malaysia Airport Berhad has a hotel under them. So I was part of the Malaysia Airport Berhad group looking after the sama-sama hotels. So yeah, so there is if you notice, like in the airport, there are like hotels. Yeah, that's
So
the
that
hotel
that
that's
was
under the
like,
airport.
I would say that was the most memorable lesson, but at the same time, it's pretty heartwarming, and it kind of like changed how you see leadership skill or
Yeah,
leadership,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of tears then. I remember I was eating my dinner. I was like, in there. My parents were like, "Why are you crying while eating your dinner?" I'm like, "I'm so sad.
I just
Like,
ruined
I
someone's
spoiled
wedding
somebody's
day,
wedding."
wedding venue.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So, are there any more stories
Oh, there are
from the
plenty.
hotel?
Actually, there are plenty. One more was when I was with this other hotel. And so once, because when you are under the management level, every weekend you have to be the manager on duty. They call it MOD. In my own term, I call it monkey on duty, because I always feel like a monkey when I'm on duty. I have to go up and down, make sure all operations will be under you, and then people report to you, tell you what happened, and whatnot. And if it's a good day, then it's like, woohoo, awesome, no issue. But if it's one of these days, like the story that I'm going to tell you, then you're going to be like, oh. So what happened was, I was upstairs doing my rounds, and then they called me. They're like, Miss Kellyn, there is some issue with the piping downstairs. I was like, okay. I was like, what's the issue? Then they're like, there is water everywhere. I'm like, water everywhere? Okay. Please tell me more about the water, like what exactly it is. And then they told me the pipe burst. And so the kitchen is flooded. So went downstairs. I thought that was the worst issue, I went there, I was like, this is bad. The next thing I know, the mall management started calling me. They're like, I don't know what is happening up there, but you have to come down. Retail shops beneath the hotel, they are all flooded. The water pipe burst and it affected the
Yeah.
entire building. So the retail shop below us were like food shop, it was on a Saturday. Can you imagine on a Saturday? They were like high traffic, right? So below us, there were like Nando's and, other food shop. And then they all started calling. They're like, we can't do this anymore. And yeah, and
How
and
did
I
you
had to
put
go
out the
down.
fire, man?
Yeah, I had to go down and assess the situation. Of course, before that, I had to call them to close the big pipe. But the thing is that, like when you turn off the pipe, right, at home, it's a small thing. When you turn it off, it immediately shuts. If it's a huge pipe, it takes a while before it, completely shuts. So it's like, close the pipe already. And then I'm like, have you all switched off? They're like, yeah, we switched off the pipe, but the water is still running. Oh my goodness. I went down to the retail area and I see water coming from the bottom rising up. I was like, oh, this is
So
it,
you
man.
became Noah, but without the ark.
Yeah, exactly. Without the arc, there I was like, where is the arc coming? But I tell you, it was chaos. It was so chaotic. People, they were all like running out. They cannot operate. They had to close. So I
But
had
how
to
deep was the water though?
deep up about ankle. So you can't, because it's the mall, and so I had to go down, talk to the mall people, get them to close out the section, and have to assess what was the damage like, have to hand down how many customers were there, because all these are for later reporting purposes, for claim insurance, right? And it was just chaotic. It didn't resolve until midnight, until like 2, 3 a.m. because we had to wait for
Stay
the
there.
people to come. Yeah, because when you're on MOD, when you're on duty, right, the
Like doctor on
manager
call.
stays there. Yeah, you have to stay there. Yeah, so it's no fun when you have to like stay in the hotel. Like everybody always say like, oh, like it's so fun now. You'll get to stay in the hotel and all. I was like, oh, if there's nothing on, then it's quite fun. But if there's things on, you wouldn't want to be there. Like trust me.
Yeah, I cannot imagine, man. So I'm just curious. I mean, you have not experienced this before.
Yeah, I've not.
And so how do you know what to do?
Well, that's a good question. How do I know what to do? I don't
Like
usually
what
know what to
process?
do.
Because this is so ad hoc and it's emergency. So if you still remember, since it's so long ago, how you actually prepare yourself? What are the thoughts that were running through your mind while you were trying to put out this fire?
All I knew at that time was I needed to get the thing to stop running, like the water. And I knew operation had to go on. So those were the things in mind that operation had to go on to make sure that nobody is injured because you never know with water if people sleep. And so we had people on standby because water was leaking through everywhere. Even our lobby area, there was water. So the whole lift just stopped. Didn't work. We had to close the lift, ask the people to switch it off, and get people to redirect them upstairs, and a lot of manpower was needed. If you ask me honestly, most of the time I do not know what to do. But one thing I know to do is I know how to listen to people. I will gather the head of department and then find out like what is important right now. Like at your level, because they are the head of department, they know what is going on and what to do at that point of time. So and I entrust them and so I tell them, okay, this is your department right now. The housekeeping area, what needs to be, how many people are there? You kind of need to know the basics of operation. But other than that, we leave it to the head to go and run the operation as well. So as long as the head is doing their job, then it's easy. So I just trust and delegate, then mobilize everybody, and then that's where they get to work. From my end, because I know that I have to be answerable to the stakeholders, the owners, and of course the GM. Not me, because I was only on duty, right? So yeah, so my part, I knew at that time I need to get all those reports ready. So I knew like what kind of information that that he will need and all that, and then for claim purposes and all that. So I suppose it's getting people to input as well, and also at that time, especially when there's a crisis, right? People like to say, oh, I want to conquer it all. I want to control everything. I'm the head, so everybody has to listen to me. But trust me, I've been in many crisis situations, like many of times, it doesn't work. The most effective crisis management is when you sit down and you listen to the heads, like the people who are working together with you. What can they input at that moment that can help, and then you leverage from there. Because when you are alone, I tell you, you will just go bonkers and your brains will be so stuck. You'll be like, oh, don't know what to do right now. And I always say this, the smartest, the manager, right, is usually not the smartest in the entire boardroom. The smart people, they're always smarter people around you. So you always make use of the smarter people. Yeah. So the manager is just to identify who are the smart ones only. That's all. So that's what you basically do. Yeah. And that's basically the job of a manager. You just go in there, you sit there and you target which ones are the smarter ones. Okay, this one is very good at like P&L, your report. This one is very good at analyzing stuff. This is very good at your digital stuff. So once you analyze, once you get all those people, then you mark them for those jobs, and then that's it. So to me, in crisis moment is to really go and listen to what they have to input, and then gather and make decision quick. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like once you hear, you listen what they have to say, make that decision. Once that decision is made, don't change your mind. Just go ahead with this, and then that's it. Yeah. Because sometimes when you like ding dong back and forth, and that's where you're like, you hesitate and you're like, oh, don't know whether it's the right decision or not, like, or should we have
second guess
done this?
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's two things I learned. You need to listen, and then after that, you're not the smartest in the boardroom, but your job is to identify who is the smarter one. So then you delegate the job and let them do.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
I have a third one as well.
Whoa.
And it's in times of crisis, right? Just make a decision, because the worst thing is to not make a decision,
You're
right?
right. You're right.
Yeah,
Because
that's
when
so
you
good.
don't make a decision, you're also making a decision. You get what I mean? When you don't
Yeah.
make a decision, the decision is also made, because by you not making the decision is also made.
Yes, yes. So that's 3 things. Yeah. Wow, what a story. Very interesting.
Let's move on to the other chapter of your career, which
Yeah.
is when you moved into Habib. So what caused you to shift? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was one of the top lessons that you have learned in that journey?
Yeah. Okay. So after the hotel, it was during the COVID time. I mentioned this right just now. So it was during COVID that, that I decided that, that the boss shouldn't be paying me so much to handle the hotel. And so I told him, I said, I will just take and yeah. And while I was waiting for a job, I applied for this Sokso Pekeso thing. And one of the requirements then to be able to get some money or whatsoever to get a pay is that you have to submit resumes just show proof that you're actually still looking for a job, you're actively looking for jobs. And I think in a month, I think you probably have to submit 8 resumes or so. And in Malacca, right? Malacca is so tiny. There's no opportunities at all. What am I going to be doing? It's okay lah, whatever that comes my way, I'm just going to hit the button, submit, and then we'll see what happens. And lo and behold, there was this jewelry place company, and I thought, okay, it would be funny if I get the job. I joke about it. I was talking to my mom, relating the story to her, and I was joking. I was like, it would be weird or funny if I get the job, but oh well, who knows? And lo and behold, I got the job, and that's how
You got it.
I entered the jewelry industry.
Nice. And how long were you in the jewelry industry?
5 years. Yeah, was there 5?
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
5.
yeah. I love the jewelry industry.
More
Which
than the hotel
also,
industry?
now that I think, think over it, right? Actually, I think I love the jewelry industry more than the hotel industry.
Wow, why? What makes you say so?
One is because of the products. I fell in love with the products. I fell in love with jewelry, and the second thing was I fell in love with my role. So I look after the jewelry shops in the southern region. There are a few. One of the things to do is to go to each shop and train the people at the training part, relating with all the staff, even with the customers. And eventually I love it.
Nice. What kept you for 5 years though?
It's the people, I would say. Yeah,
Yeah?
it's the people.
What about it, if I may ask?
The people, we deal with all sorts of people, and every day is different. Every day is new, every day is different. From the customers to the staff, to your colleagues, they're all different. And it's challenging, but it's just the relationship. To me, working wherever you are, whether if it be in the hotel industry, in the retail industry, the most important thing is relationship. And for me, that's what I cherish. That is precious to me. And so it's the people that keeps me going. Every day when I go in there, if I see my staff grow, I see them, for example, their mindset, mentality, or even in English. Sometimes I go in there and then we just conduct English lessons, teach them basics how to read your customers, what to say, what not to say, and things like that. And when they grow, right, and then you feel like, wow, they're growing and you feel
Satisfaction.
excited lah. There's a sense of satisfaction, not bad. I've sown something there. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. And previously in our conversation, you did share that the jewelry industry does have a darker side when it comes to human nature. Since you talk about people, right? Let's deep dive into it a little bit more, because based on what I understand about your journey, this was where you got to really understand about human nature.
Yeah, that's right. Human nature, it's not easy. Yes, dark, very. There are brighter sides, and there are the not so bright sides.
Shiny
Anybody
side
that
too.
comes through, it doesn't matter whether if it's customer or your colleagues. One thing I've learned there is really integrity. And like you mentioned, I learned about human nature. So I give you a story. The story is about a customer, these 3 customers. They came into the shop. It was pouring outside. They were holding an umbrella. So when they arrived at the shop, the security guard saw them and said that, oh, can I, help with your umbrella? I put it aside for you. And these customers, they were like, no, we don't want to, you don't need to hold our umbrella. We will have our umbrella. So instead of holding an umbrella, they put the umbrella in between their legs. And it's so weird because it's all wet. The umbrella is wet. And you're thinking, like, why would anybody want to do that, right? So we're like, okay, never mind. It's all right. We, give people the benefit of doubt. And this lady, the three of them, they were just looking through like bracelets. And we have this SOP where at one time you can only show 2 items. So the person who is attending to the customer, she showed the first item and so was passed on to the first customer. And then the first customer passed it on to the next customer, eventually to the third customer. And then they try and distract the salesperson again and they say, oh, we want to see another one. So she took out another one, a second piece, show it to them again. Also, the same thing, they did that, they passed and then they passed it on to the third one. And then they wanted another one. So then after that, later the salesperson is like, because she knows the SOP says only 2, right? So she asked the customer back. She's like, oh, what about the first one that I show you? Are you interested in buying that? And then the customer was like, we thought we returned the bracelet already. No, we don't have it. They pull up their sleeves and everything. They're like, no, you see, we don't have it. To cut the whole story short, what they were trying to do is they were trying to drop the bracelet into the umbrella so that they can walk away with the item in the umbrella. But thankfully, it wasn't very successful lah. The thing
Wrong
didn't
shop,
drop
wrong
into
day.
the umbrella. It fell outside of the umbrella, so it went onto the ground. And then after that, then they changed the story. They're like, oh, it's just, it's on the floor. And then they just walk off it. And that was the incident. Later on, we got to know from the staff that earlier, because there were 2 counters, right? So at the counter earlier, there were different staff at different counters. When they were at the inner counter, they were talking to one another and they're like, oh, maybe today's your lucky day. You can find something. And so the staff didn't know. The staff at that time thought like customers can say that, maybe it's your lucky day, you find something that you like, and you buy it. No, she wouldn't even suspect that, that is up to no good. And then when we gathered the whole story, we were like, oh, these people, they plan it all the while. Like, they come in with the intention to come in to just try their luck and steal and walk away. And it shows you like, about human nature. It shows you like, you cannot trust people. Like, always say this, the people who always steal in the jewelry industry, oftentimes they are not the poorest. They're usually rich, well-to-do people who steal. They steal not because they do not have money. They steal for the thrill of stealing. Yeah, so they get the excitement, that thrill, and when they don't get caught, right, then they're like, oh, I succeeded lah. Yeah, so that's the whole thing. Many of times, we have too many incidents. It's not just a one-time case. The people who steal are rich people, but we have too many, even staff as well. Another
Interesting
story.
stuff.
Now I share with you about staff as well. We're all human. And they can be tempted. And gold is not cheap. Now it went up again. I don't know how much, 580 or something per gram. So a tiny little thing, like one small little speck of dust, it's money to them. And so they will try all sorts. They are tempted when there's opportunity given, they will try. Okay, so the staff is from another area. What happened was, he stole the item, okay, and he tried and play tricks on his other colleagues. He took a bracelet, and the bracelet was maybe about 20,000, gold, full gold. And when he took the bracelet, he was there, and we had to, every night they had to do a stock count. You had to tally the stock before you can go home. And at night, and then early in the morning when you come in, you have to count your stock again to make sure that your stock tallies. Then only you can start the day. So that night, when they counted that they were extra, because what happened was this guy, he took the bracelet, but he replaced the bracelet with a necklace. And when you put a necklace onto the display, it looks like there's 2, right? Because like a necklace, like the whole round, it looks like there's 2, right? So, and when they counted, they're like, got extra, okay lah, tomorrow morning only we come back and then we count, thinking like we have extra, right? So they came back the next morning and it still didn't tally. So this went on for a couple of days, and according to SOP, they have breached the SOP because by right, you're supposed to report immediately, like on that day itself. When it doesn't tell, you're supposed to report. And so it went on, and they found out, they realized, the security team came in, and after they did a check and everything, then they realized that, it's confirmed, that the item went missing. And so what happened was, they're like, okay, now we have to catch the culprit. So they asked the manager at that time, who do you think took? Is it insider job or is it from a customer? And then that manager at that time, she said that I think it's an insider's job. So during that time, we had a management meeting. So this particular girl, she called me and she's like, oh, Kellyn, do you think I should go to the meeting in KL? Because this was in a different place. So I said, yeah, just come to KL and just pretend like nothing is going on. Just come to KL. Then what you need to do is you need to look out for two things. Because I asked her first, I said, do you think it's an insider job? She said, yes. She said it's an insider job, and that's why she was afraid to leave the shop to come for meeting. She thought that worse things may happen. She leaves the place. So I said to her, I said, just don't worry, just come over. And then, but meanwhile, look out for two things. Number one, look out for people who is on MC. The other thing is look out for people who is missing in action. Only two criteria. And then she said, okay. So she came and then we had meeting. Of course, her body was there at the meeting, but her mind, her heart, everything was there. Like her soul was all at her shop. She was like constantly thinking, she's like, die la. She's like, telling me, she's like, Kellyn, die la, because in the company's policy, if they cannot find anything and the thing is stolen, the staff will have to bear for the cost of the missing item. She's thinking like, everybody's going to be bearing the cost and it's going to like cost a lot. So while she was in KL having meeting and all that, the security people, she gave two names. She said, true enough, there were two names, one missing in action, one MC. So I told her, I said, give that name to the security department and get them to check right now. And that helped them a lot to quickly screen, because once they have names, they know who to look out for in the CCTV. So that's how they trace, and then that's how they got the guy. And they're like, we found your guy, and true enough, the guy, he was on missing action. So he was MIA for like a couple of days. And so they set a trap for him to come back to work. And then that's where when he came back to work and all that, they grill him. And then they had the police waiting right outside. The moment he comes out of the shop, the police handcuffed him and bye-bye. That's all.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. And that guy, he doesn't come from a poor background, he comes from a pretty okay family background. The story is this. Before this, they were in a different shop. In the first shop, there were more supervision. The manager was more vigilant and the staff there, they were more alert. So he had no opportunity. When he went, because there was a merge, like we reshuffled, so he had to go to shop B. And when he went to shop B, there were opportunities. The people there don't check, and that's where he started doing his hanky-panky stuff. So, and that's why at the end of the day, if you talk about manager, the manager there plays a very important role in terms of watching the people. Yeah, watching the people inside, which is the staff, watching the people outside, which is the customers. So yes, human
Yes.
nature.
Went into this jewelry industry, did they sort of teach or have trainings on like how to identify or suspect potential?
None. Yeah, none. There was no training at all. The only thing they train you is product knowledge. Yeah.
So okay, so you don't have training. How do you train yourself to be so sharp in your intuition about people? How you develop that skill? Is it through experience, empathy, or like just observation?
To me, it's definitely observation. Yeah, it's definitely through years of experience, observation, and also learning. The thing with me is, people say curiosity kills the cat. For me, it's learning to be curious. There's this saying like, millions saw the apples fall, but only one person asked why. And that person who asked why was the one who discovered about gravity. That's the thing. So to me, it's like watching people, observing them, and then you always have to be curious, like, why is this person acting like that? Or why is this person like the way he's thinking? Why would he say things like that? Yeah, it helps you to process when you're able to just slow down and like watch and observe, you get to catch a lot of things that people don't say. Yeah, if I am making any sense to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
so
of
yeah. So it's really reading the intention behind what people say or maybe what people do and their body language, right?
But of course, not to say we go around and like everybody will scan up and down. I don't do that to everybody because that would be like very critical and judgmental. Yeah, but it does take discernment. You have to discern, at that situation, what to say, what not to say, and, like how to react.
Do you think that's trainable?
Yeah, it's definitely trainable. I mean, maybe for some people it comes naturally, but I think
Like
it's
for you?
trainable. Huh?
Like for you, it's natural.
No, it's not natural for
there's
me.
no
I've
training.
trained. For me, it's also training. Like my 5 years in this jewelry industry, also it's a form of training. Like it sharpens your mind. You're more alert. Yeah, and then you realize like human nature is human nature. We are easily tempted. We are human beings who are easily tempted. So I always tell them, some customers are regular customers. And when they come, the staff, they're so relaxed with them to a point where if the customer is so regular, they can take out 5 items, they can take out 10 items, which they're not supposed to. But the thing is that regular customers, when they have the opportunity, when things are left there unattended, they also will take the opportunity and say, oops. Yeah.
So, Kellyn, I'm sure you have many other interesting stories, but what is a one story it could be from either industry, that still stand out till today, like you remember vividly and that it has truly shaped how you see people?
Yeah, it's difficult to choose. I have so many. Okay, maybe one from MCO. During the MCO period, they have this thing where you can only allow 60%, I think. 40-60. So 40% working in the shop, 60% has to be working from home. And there's this regulation at that time, being in the retail industry. And so what happened was, somebody from the management, obviously my superior, suggested that we should submit more names to the authorities. And so instead of, say, for example, you have 40% of people working, right? And if your 40% is, say, 4 people, she is suggesting that we up that number to like 6 or 7 people. But what do we do is by cheating the list of stuff. That is wrong. It's like very wrong. And when she told me that, I clearly didn't agree. I was like, over my dead body, you're doing that. I told her, I said, the one who is going to jail is me, because I'm the one who's going to be approving. I'm the one who's going to putting the names in the list. I was very firm. I'm not going to do that. If you want to do that, you do it on your own. You do it to all the other shops. But so long as the shop is under my care, my supervision, I'm not doing that. And you don't come and touch my shop. And that was it. And I had a moment with her, Meletop lah, meletop. Firecrackers
Wow.
everywhere. But that taught me that as a leader, we need to be able to say, I will bear the responsibility. You need to be able to say that it's okay, because this is my boss, this is my superior telling me, giving me the instruction. But to me, if it's against my integrity, if it's against what I believe in, I will not do it. And I will hold very firmly to what I believe in. This is not a gray area. It's a black or white. It's a black and white thing, right? So it's like either you do it or you don't do it. I cannot say it's a gray area. So for me, it's very clear. It's clear cut. It's against the law. It's against the regulation at that time, against what the government authorities
SOP.
want at the moment. So I will not do it. So so for me, it's sometimes being firm. You have to learn how to stand your ground and just be firm, and you have to learn how to be able to say, this is my responsibility. Like I will be responsible if anything happens. And oftentimes you will find out when you are daring enough to say that sentence, that statement, your bosses won't touch you, because they know what you're fighting for. So just a tip for those people out there, if you know, if you know what you believe in, and if you know that's the right thing to do, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
And stand firm on it, right?
Yeah, and stand firm on it. Yeah, that's
Wow,
right.
so good. So good. So, John, do you have any questions? Any more questions about the two industries? I'm
No,
really
I'm
enjoying the stories. I could actually ask her to go on and on with the stories, but I think we need to move on. So we talk about, now that we've heard from you, your experiences, we see from what you have, which is your people skill. So how did you come to realize that? Yeah, because I also want to learn.
I suppose it's through experience. Yeah, through experience. The more you do it, the more you reflect, the more you will come to a conclusion that, hey, at the end of the day, what gets the work going is actually human relationship. And next thing, we talk about emotional agility. Emotional agility is when you're able to say, for example, your boss says this statement, right? This report's so easy also you cannot churn out. Why are you so slow? Okay, statement. All right. But the thing is that with you, he doesn't know that you do a lot of background research. Okay, you take time to research the data, the information. You make sure the information is accurate before you submit it to him. To him, his perception is slow. For you, your perception is that I need to make sure that the report is accurate before I submit it to the boss. So emotional agility is when the boss says a statement to you that you are slow, you're able to quickly reflect and say, this is not me. I'm not slow. Don't allow that to haunt you and mark your statement and be like, oh, my boss says I'm slow, so forever I'm slow. Sorry, too bad lah, I'm slow lah. So flexibility to be able to change from one state of mind to another state of mind is very important, especially when it comes to managing, when it comes to leadership. That is the most important thing.
But where do you learn that? How to just shift like that? I mean, some people, they feel a lot and then it affects their thinking, right? So what are some of the tips that you would give if people want to develop emotional agility? Where can they start, or what can they do to help themselves?
Yeah. It happens all the time. So you can start wherever you are because you are always receiving statements. You're always receiving feedback or whatsoever, even with your own family as well. Like if your mom says something, but if you know that it's not you, then you have to be quick enough to be flexible enough to change that statement. And not problem with us is we always dwell in that statement, we dwell in that negativity. When people say something that is wrong or or hurtful whatsoever, we dwell there. We don't move on. So the not being able to move on is the thing that stumbles us, and then we are stuck already. We're like, oh, I cannot, and then when the next opportunity come, your boss is like, oh, I'm giving you a new position, and then you're forever stuck there. So for me, it's not starting big, but starting small, in your own day-to-day, conversation with people. And when you pick up when people is trying to be more observant and trying to be a listener, I would say. Yeah, be a listener. When people say things, sometimes you pick up certain things. Don't immediately quickly just
React.
take and because it doesn't define you. So don't just quickly come to a conclusion. Yeah, so it's a training thing. I have to go back to say that it's just through training yourself to listen, training yourself to stop, and train yourself to reflect.
Would you say that it would be helpful if you spend more time with yourself to learn about yourself more, so that when people speak of you, which is not true, then it's easier to deflect it rather than to just absorb what people say of us?
Yeah, I would say this. You need to allow some safe people to come into your circle. You need to allow some good community or good friends to come into your circle. And that circle, they are the people who will speak truth to you. Yeah, it's good to have many friends, right? But if your friends are just going to be the happy-go-lucky kind, oh, you're always, Nancie, you're so pretty, every day say the good things only, right? Then you don't grow. But when you have somebody who comes in and give you the hard truth, right? And then that's where you grow. So it's not to say that you shut everybody off and say everybody's word. You have to of course you need to filter, but you kind of also need to allow that group of people whom you really trust, the people who is going to be helping you to grow, those people to allow them to speak into your life. But other than that, those people who a one-time thing, you only meet that person one time and then they say harsh thing, then don't need to go and filter so much. Just ignore lah. Just be okay, next.
Right.
Why waste time?
Were you intentional in building that kind of friendships?
Yeah. I would say so. Yeah, I don't have, if you ask me, I don't have many friends. Or rather, I I
Really?
have friends.
Really?
True friends.
Yeah, that's right. But people who would like really speak into my life, they're not many. And so I have to be really wise about it lah. Because like sometimes the more you mix with certain kind of people, you also kind of like you tap on that kind of the person's energy as well. You tap on the person's vibe as well. So the more you mix with them, and then the more you're like, if every day I'm like Nancie, suddenly I find myself talking like Nancie, laughing like Nancie. Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah. So we were talking about AI just now. In this world that's obsessed with automation, AI now, why do you think emotional intelligence still matters?
Good question. It's very important. I think people these days, they can no longer differentiate anymore between human and AI. Well, if you look at the apps, there are apps where I can say gibberish here, and then another video can come out like as if I'm saying like something else,
It's
and
like,
so it's very scary when you come to think of it. The technology is so advanced to a point where you no longer can differentiate between a robot and a real human. But that is where the more the human relationship, the human emotional agility comes in. Because that's the part that the robot cannot do it. The robot cannot have empathy. The robot cannot have all this human touch. So no matter how they try, they will try, but they will never get to that state. So I think the more right now is for us to really embrace us being human. Technology is good. Technology is supposed to advance us. Technology is supposed to path the way forward, But the thing is that technology is developed by human being. Yeah. And so there's a lot of things that is like the human factor that is only us, those emotions. Yeah. And the more we have to jaga lor, we have to be even more careful with how we handle people. We have to be even more careful, because otherwise, if we don't handle these people well, sooner or later, if you have, say for example, in the retail industry or like a hotel industry, 80% is all human. You have the receptionist, you have people serving and whatnot, and sooner or later, of course, they can replace with, but you lose that touch, the warm touch, and it's irreplaceable for me.
yeah, I was also just thinking, now we have so many things that is being replaced by AI, and everything is like done by AI. So then, we are going from one extreme end to the other extreme end. Last time it was a lot of manpower, a lot of humans. Then now it's a lot of robots. And then when there's a lot of robots, then we will crave for human connection, right?
Yeah.
And then I feel like in the future, when everything is powered by AI and robots, then you see that the special things or the things that are going to come back would be a lot of activities that's to human connection, relationship, activities that we do like painting, and then suddenly it becomes like the new technology.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If you ask me, we are created to be relational beings. Yeah.
Yes.
So no matter what, we need one another. You cannot live solo on this earth. You definitely somehow need people.
I mean, just look at COVID. During COVID, how many people committed suicide,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody was so isolated, and then some don't even have family, and then they're living alone. Then they fall into depression and things like that. So yeah, that shows how much of a relational being we are.
That's right.
So out of curiosity, right, Kellyn, right now that you are going through your AI course, congratulations for finishing one and moving on to the other, right? And you have also seen two industries, one for 8 years, another for 5 years,
Yeah.
right? So applying your newfound knowledge of AI to these two other industries that you are so exposed in, what is like one or two things that you feel will change thanks to AI, and that change will also be better in that sense?
For me, definitely digital marketing will change.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of how they create their, whether if it's for poster brochures or like the way they advertise, that definitely will help. Like in terms of like, because nowadays you get all sorts of video, you get all sorts of like artwork, and through AI, and that will enhance the entire digital marketing sector. So for me,
Wouldn't it
that's
be oversaturated, like too many, and everyone is doing the same thing but in different ways?
yeah,
But
yeah.
after
That's
a while,
why,
people just swipe and
yeah,
swipe, like
that's
don't
right.
really pay attention anymore.
Correct. So that's why I always believe there must be a balance. When I was doing Marcom, right, at that time digital marketing was already coming up at that time, but we always believe there must be a online and offline presence. You cannot be totally fully online, neither can you be totally fully offline. So there must be a balance between both. And that's why it comes back to that human touch is very important. Like if I say, for example, if I'm still in the industry, the jewelry industry, it's one thing to advertise on your social media or whatsoever, but it's another thing when the customer comes in and actually try on the bracelet or the jewelry. It's a whole different experience altogether. Yeah, so it has to blend, it has to have a balance. But I definitely see it's going to be very interesting. Like this whole AI thing is going to bring everything to another notch, I would say.
So, apart from AI, what do you hope to build or explore next after you've completed your courses?
That's a very good question. I'm still toying, actually.
Nice. That's all what we are doing too.
You will be surprised. Is in my top list. Training,
Nice.
education.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
There's a great
think-
need for that.
So, one more question. Just now we talk about human connection, and some people struggle to have that. They probably yearn to have human connection, but some people are just awkward. Like they don't know how to, let's just say, struggle to connect. So, how can people start to like strengthen these human skills? Do you have any tips?
Maybe I give you another point of view. Sometimes you always think like how the people, it works both ways. The person, him or herself, and then the people around, okay? The people around this person, sometimes we always think like, ayo, this person is so introvert. It's like, cannot talk more. It's like, talk, say more, say more, say more. But then from an introverted point of view, they're very comfortable with where they are at. They're like, I'm okay just like this. Like you will see this very commonly in, like, say for example, a party. You have introverted people that will sit there, and then if people who are a bit more observant, you're thinking, ayo, I don't know whether this person is comfortable or not. Ask the person to come, the person sit there at the corner. But you have to also understand that this person, if he is willing to come, he is happy to be there. But his way is he's just happily sitting there alone by himself. He's comfortable. So there's always this two point of view, right? Where we always think like, oh, people introverted one must be more extroverted. Or like, it has to be like us, like that. It have to be more happening, then only it's fun. But the introverted people have their own way of fun also. So for the introverted people, the word of encouragement is try.
Yep.
I know you're very
Try.
comfortable. You're very comfortable. You're also very comfortable there where you're at, doing your own thing. You wouldn't mind everybody going hoo-ha there, but then you're like sitting there. It's okay. That person also have to try. Don't have to relate with a whole bunch of people, but maybe one person is a good start. Right? So yeah, so start small. Doesn't have to. We always think of like we want to change. We have to have like 180 degrees kind of change. But change doesn't mean it's 180 degrees. Sometimes by starting small, just talking to that one person is enough to impact you already.
Nice. Thank you for that advice. So I guess before we end, we always have a lightning round. So this segment, it's where we ask our guests question, and then you just give us answer off your head. Like don't have to think. Okay? So it's gonna be short answer. So whatever that comes to your mind, basically. So are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. So the first question is one human skill everyone should master.
Emotional agility.
Nice.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Okay, another one, huh? A lesson that hurt but changed you.
All right. So a lesson that hurt but changed me. When I was in Australia, I used to work in this home, and this home we serve the special need kids. And there was this one particular boy that captured my attention. And this young guy, he has no sense of mobility at all. He's like basically like paralyzed and like bedridden from top to bottom. And the only movement that he can do is probably like, look and say a few things, like make a few sound, but that was all. And so feeding and all that, we also need to like help him. We need to feed him, we need to change him. But one thing that I really learned and appreciated was that he really appreciates life and he appreciates little things. Things like watching the sunset, sunrise. Those are the things that will make him smile from ear to ear. When he sees the sunset, when he sees the sunrise, it makes him so happy, and he was just so full, of joy. And that was the thing that I learned, that was like the most precious thing that I learned from this young man, that life is precious, and and we learn how to appreciate the little things. And so the thing that hurt was because once we changed the carer, and this carer, I think they probably, due to negligence, every night before we go to bed, we have to tuck in the boy in his bed. We have to put pillows by the side of the rail, just so that, he won't hurt himself. And so the carer did that. But I think one thing they forgot to do is they forgot to make sure that it is well tucked in. And so in the middle of the night, the pillow fell on this boy and he suffocated to death. And that really broke my heart, because I think at that point, I think he was only 21 years old. So it was a lesson, a very expensive lesson, but it was also a lesson that, that really...
Wow. Okay. I don't know how to continue to the next question. Okay. One show or book that shaped how you understand people.
One book that shaped how I understand people. I like this book, and the book was actually passed down, by my dad. The name of the book is called About the People Person, and it's written by this guy called John Maxwell. And how to be a people person, he talks about understanding before you can be a people person. You need to first learn how to put the others first. It's always about making the others feel right. If you are in the same boardroom together with all the other co-workers, how is it so that, that you can make those people sitting in the same boardroom feel better, than you? So that was the key, most important thing that I've learned throughout, throughout my many years of managing, and, and it has really blessed me. It has greatly helped me.
Wow. Okay, one more question. Last one, huh? One thing AI will never be able to do.
Yeah, one thing that AI will never be able to do, it's AI cannot replace human beings. We human beings, we have emotions. We have the side of us that has empathy. And that empathetic part is where AI cannot replace. Yeah, because AI can come out with smart, logical thinking. They will give you all sorts of analysis, if that's what you need. But the empathetic part, the part where the emotional part is what AI cannot be able to fulfill that part at all. And so understanding what AI can do is important, but most importantly, we always have to remember that at the end of the day, we are still human and we are relational beings. Being able to relate with one another is still key, rather than just relying on technology. Because at the end of the day, we still need to communicate. At the end of the day, we still need to, to relate with one another. Yeah, so that is way more important. The human relations part is more important, than tech.
I think, okay, to be fair, you've already answered that earlier on, right? Yeah, AI can never replace human because they don't have emotion. Yep. So, John, do you have anything else to add?
I just wanted to say one thing that jumped out at me throughout this whole conversation. If I were to sum it up, it's the little things, start with the little things, pay attention to the little things. Like when you were talking about emotional agility, it feels like a big word, but it's the small practice, small daily practice that helps you build emotional agility. And then when we talked about observing people, it's also like doing it every day, right? Even if you're an introvert at a party, learn to talk to people, right? Just start with one person first, right? And then with the story that you just shared, so movingly, appreciate the little things in life as well. So it's the little things that make life so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
That story really broke my heart.
Yeah.
So we have come to the end. Thank you so much, Kellyn, for coming to this podcast. And thank you, John.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this podcast. And thank you to Nancie and John as well for hosting it. I really had fun and I look forward to see where this all goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing so openly.
Thanks for tuning in to the PivotLab Podcast. We hope today's story gave you both inspiration and insight, something you can carry into your own next move. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, and follow us on Instagram and Substack for the latest episodes, content, and tools to help you design what's next. And if you know someone who could benefit from this, share the love. Most importantly, let's stay connected. We've got more stories, strategies, and blueprints coming your way. Until next time, keep going. Your next chapter is already unfolding.